My boyfriend forgot to turn off his webcam, and a whole crew of producers got a front row seat to his late-night romp with a rising Hollywood starlet. They even plotted together how to use me as a stepping stone to boost their careers. But just a few days later, my boyfriend proposed to me on live TV, with the starlet herself cheering me on to say yes. They thought they were being so clever that no one could see through their little act. What they didn't realize was that everyone was watching their performance. And me. I'm the executive producer. Chapter 1. My boyfriend forgot to turn off his webcam. At midnight, I got a group video call notification. Curious, I joined and the scene that greeted me was wild. Two figures were locked in a passionate embrace. The stars of the show? My boyfriend of 2 years, Bryce, and Ivy, the company's breakout starlet. Ivy traced circles on his chest, her voice teasing. So, who's better? Me or Sarah? Obviously you, babe. Bryce replied, making her giggle and playfully shove him. If you like me so much, and then why are you proposing to Sarah? What am I supposed to do? I've been with you for 3 months now, and I've got nothing to show for it. Hold up. Bryce was planning to propose to me, and this side chick was demanding her share of the spotlight. What were they planning for all 3 of us to live happily ever after? Absolutely ridiculous. Over the past 2 years, I had watched Bryce climb from a nobody in the industry to the leading man of a hit TV show, all thanks to my connections and tireless support. Just last month, he begged me to introduce him to a top Hollywood director, swearing he'd love me forever, or else he'd be struck by lightning. Little did I know, he was already fooling around with Ivy at the time. And using me to pave his way forward. Ivy snuggled up closer to him and purred. Bryce, this new movie of ours has so many romantic scenes. The paparazzi will be all over us. Maybe we should stop meeting in private. Bryce took a drag from his post-coital cigarette and smirked. Who cares? Sarah's easy to handle. Even if pictures leak, as long as I deny it, she won't suspect a thing. Ivy chuckled, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. That's true. She's so naive. I just played the victim in front of her, and she said she'd help get me on that reality show. With her backing you, you'll be the first of the rookies to blow up. Hearing that, Ivy lit up like a Christmas tree. Her boyfriend's already mine, and she's still working hard to help me out. What a sucker. Bryce pinched her cheek. Naughty girl. You're gonna piss her off to death. Ivy laughed. If she's dumb enough to fall for it, that's her problem, not mine. By this point, my hands were trembling with rage. I silently exited the video call. Barely a moment later, my phone buzzed. It was Jane, my best friend. She was the one who had sent me the link to the group video. I told you Bryce was trash, but you wouldn't listen. Now look at you, getting played like a fool while they climb to the top. Jane's voice came rapid fire, like a machine gun. Unlike her though, I had already calmed down. How many people know about this? I asked. Jane hesitated and then admitted. The whole production team knows. There are at least a few dozen witnesses. If you want, I can ruin Bryce's career in 5 minutes. Tell them to keep quiet. I said coolly. Jane went silent, like a firecracker that had fizzled out. Then, after a pause, her voice sharpened. What kind of spell has that jerk put on you? Are you seriously not done with him yet? I raised an eyebrow and replied. They've been playing me for months. Letting them get kicked out of Hollywood would be too easy. I want them to turn on each other. I want them to tear each other apart like rabid dogs, putting on a show for everyone to see. Only then will it be fair. Chapter 2. After that night, Bryce started calling me on video every day. Ivy, too, kept dropping my name. She even added me on WhatsApp through our company group chat. Sarah, you said you'd help me get on the run. Are we still good to go? I smiled. Of course. They're just waiting on you. Yesterday, the marketing director of a jewelry brand told me Bryce had bought an engagement ring for me. My name was engraved on it. Knowing him, he was definitely planning to propose to me on the set of The Run, to boost his popularity. So, I made sure Ivy would be there to witness it. Later that night, The Run announced its guest lineup. Sure enough, Bryce's name was on the list. And right next to his, Ivy's. Bryce raised an eyebrow as he stared at his phone. Ivy's coming too? Huh. She's got potential. I worked with her on set, and she's not bad. His expression was perfectly casual, like he was talking about some random coworker. Watching him, I couldn't help but think back to that video. My stomach churned with disgust. What an actor. Funny, I'd never realized just how good his acting was before. Chapter 3. The Day of Run. Filming. Ivy was being interviewed by the host. As she spoke, she toyed with the necklace around her neck. Last month, Bryce had custom ordered a high-end necklace from Tiffany's. I never got it. But now, here it was, dangling around Ivy's neck. The necklace he gave me last week? Just some cheap leftover piece from the same collection. Feigning innocence, I smiled and said, "Bryce, Ivy's necklace is gorgeous. I heard it was a gift from her boyfriend. Did you ever meet him on set?" What? No, I haven't. Bryce stammered, visibly uncomfortable. I leaned in, adding casually, "That necklace must have cost a fortune. It's a limited edition. Ivy's boyfriend must really love her, don't you think?" Bryce was sweating bullets. Panicking, he fumbled in his pocket and pulled out a ring, clearly trying to change the subject. "Sarah," he said, dropping to one knee. "I know this is sudden, but I can't wait another moment. Marry me. Be my wife." All eyes turned to us. Ivy's expression flickered with jealousy, but she quickly masked it with fake excitement. "Bryce, you're so romantic. Sarah, if I were you, I'd say yes right away. A guy like him is a keeper if you don't want him. There's plenty of women who would." Bryce reached for my hand to slip the ring on my finger. But I curled my fingers into a fist and looked at Ivy. "Oh? So you'd want him too?" Ivy's eyes reddened as she protested, her voice trembling with indignation. "Sarah, don't be paranoid. Not everyone wants to steal what's yours." Embarrassed by my refusal, Bryce's face hardened. He grabbed for my hand again, determined to force the ring on me, but I clenched my fist tighter. Frustrated, he snapped, "Sarah, haven't you always wanted to get married?" "Oh, I wanted to get married, all right. But when I brought it up before, he'd told me he was still building his career and couldn't afford the distraction. He begged me to be patient and understanding. And while I was busy being understanding, he was busy rolling around in bed with Ivy. Before he could say another word, I turned to the director and told him to cut the proposal scene. Bryce had invited a swarm of paparazzi to sneak onto the set tonight, hoping to use his proposal to generate buzz. Now, within the hour, news of his failed proposal would dominate the headlines. Bryce cared deeply about his public image. So, I decided to shatter it right in front of the whole nation. Chapter 4. Bryce was furious. He didn't talk to me for the rest of the episode. Instead, he spent the whole time cozying up to Ivy during the games, trying to make me jealous. He wanted me to regret turning him down. Too bad for him, I had just as much fun playing games with a younger, hotter guy. Bryce's face was so twisted with anger, I thought his jaw might snap. After filming wrapped, we all started heading out. But at the entrance, Ivy burst into tears. Someone had slashed her car's tires. Bryce leaned in to comfort her, murmuring softly. Then, like the knight in shining armor he so desperately wanted to be, he offered to drive her home. "Oh, Bryce, you're so sweet," Ivy said, her voice soft and trembling. "But what if Sarah gets upset? Maybe I should just wait for the company to send another car." Before I could respond, one of the other guests chimed in, hyping her up. "Come on, Ivy, you're going to be the next big thing. Of course, Bryce should take care of you. Don't forget us little people when you're a star." Ivy's smirk was almost imperceptible, but I caught it. "I'll let you take the front seat," she said to me, her tone so sugary it could rot teeth. "You don't mind, do you, Sarah?" Our eyes locked. She tried to hide it, but I could see the satisfaction gleaming in her gaze. I smiled faintly. "Sure. Go ahead. But are you sure you want to sit there?" Her face fell, and her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to overstep. I should have known better. My mistake." Bryce, still sulking over my earlier rejection, took her side. "Come on, Sarah. No need to bully a rookie." Ivy dabbed at her eyes, sniffling. "Bryce, don't fight with Sarah because of me. I'm just a rookie. Taking a little heat is part of the job." Right then, the hum of an engine cut through the air. A sleek sports car pulled up to the studio entrance. "Jack!" someone shouted. The crowd buzzed with excitement. Jack, the youngest actor to win 3 Oscars, stepped out of the car. His career was untouchable. He walked straight up to Ivy. "Ivy, get in. I'll give you a ride home." Ivy's face lit up with disbelief. "You know who I am? I like your song." Jack replied coolly. His tone was nonchalant, but Ivy looked like she might faint from joy. Bryce stepped in, his voice tight with barely contained anger. "Jack, what the hell is this? Stealing my endorsements wasn't enough. Now you're going after my company's talent too?" Jack didn't even acknowledge him. He just opened the car door for Ivy and drove off. Bryce let out a string of curses under his breath. Just minutes earlier, he'd been playing the hero, acting like Ivy's protector. Now, Jack had swooped in, and Bryce was nothing more than a forgotten extra. What a clown. One of the producers whispered nervously to me. "How long has Ivy been in touch with Jack? If she's got his backing, this could get tricky for us." I glanced at Bryce, watching him stew in his humiliation, and smiled. "Don't worry, Jack is part of my plan too." Chapter 5. After that night, Bryce started giving me the cold shoulder. On set, he went out of his way to share a bowl of clam chowder with a co-star, making sure the paparazzi snapped some photos to try and provoke me. But I couldn't care less. I didn't even bother buying the photos back to save his reputation, so he had to spend a small fortune buying them himself. The worst part? A veteran actor who'd been on run with us also witnessed his antics. Later, Bryce invited this guy out for drinks, whining about how I'd embarrassed him. By the end of the night, he was drunkenly betting with his buddies that I'd come crawling back, begging him to marry me. When I saw the video of his little pity party, I just smirked. Let's see who's begging who tomorrow. That night, Bryce slept in his hotel room, completely unaware that his world was about to collapse. By the time he woke up, the internet had exploded. Hashtags like Bryce scams fans into sending expensive gifts. Bryce tosses fans' gifts in the trash. And Bryce shares a bowl of soup with co-star were trending everywhere. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Early that morning, a delivery van collided with Jack's luxury car on its way to the city dump. The minor accident brought out the cops. When they inspected the van, they found it packed with fan gifts unopened, dumped like garbage. The driver panicked and revealed everything. Bryce had ordered him to throw it all away. The news blew up instantly. Fans were outraged. Just 2 nights ago, Bryce had gone live, bragging about owning a mansion where he kept all his fan gifts. Turns out, the mansion was a landfill. Even his most die-hard fan pages shut down, with their leaders publicly announcing they were done supporting him. Brand sponsors started pulling out left and right, demanding compensation for the damage to their reputations. By mid-morning, Bryce was hiding in his hotel room, getting ready to sneak out with a mask and sunglasses when Ivy showed up unannounced. She tossed her $10,000 designer bag onto the couch and flopped down beside it, looking annoyed. "You're not seriously thinking about going to Sarah for help, are you?" she asked, her voice dripping with disdain. "You idiot," she continued before he could respond. "She's the one behind all of this. She's the one who leaked the story about the fan gifts. She's known about us for ages. Recently, rumors about Ivy and Jack had started circulating, and Bryce's paranoia was in overdrive. The timing was way too convenient. The delivery van just happened to crash into Jack's car. The cops just happened to show up. And now Ivy just happened to be here, spilling all this. Bryce's eyes narrowed. He was convinced Jack had sent Ivy to sabotage him. Without warning, he lunged at her, grabbing her by the throat. "Was it you?" he hissed, his grip tightening. "You're working with Jack, aren't you? Why else would he come after me?" Ivy's face turned pale as she clawed at his hands. "You're insane. Let me go. I told you, it's Sarah. She's the one pulling the strings. Jack has nothing to do with this." But Bryce wasn't listening. Ivy was gasping for air, her voice a hoarse whisper. "It's Sarah, Bryce. We've both been played." Chapter 6. The doorbell rang, over and over again, like someone was on the verge of a breakdown. Bryce was here. For the first time, I saw sheer desperation on his face, like his entire world was falling apart. "Sarah, please, you have to help me," he begged. "Just tell everyone you threw out the fan gifts. Say I didn't know anything about it." I pretended to hesitate, my voice soft. "But if I do that, I'll ruin myself. All the blame will fall on me." Bryce grabbed onto my hesitation like it was his last lifeline. "No, it won't, Sarah. Even if you can't act anymore, you'll still have me. I swear, I'll love you forever. Please, just do this for me." Before I could respond, his desperation turned to rage. He grabbed my coffee mug and smashed it against the floor, his voice shaking. "You're not helping me because you're the one behind all this. Aren't you?" I recoiled, feigning shock and innocence. "Bryce, how could you think that about me? If I wanted to ruin you, why would I have helped you arrange that meeting with Director Lee? He was planning to fly back just to see you this week." As I spoke, tears welled up in my eyes and spilled down my cheeks. Bryce froze, torn between his paranoia and whatever remaining trust he had in me. Before he could decide what to believe, Jane called and told us to come to the company immediately. When we arrived, the entire PR department was there, ready to handle the fallout. The situation had escalated into a full-blown crisis, and they were treating it as a top-level emergency. Bryce, still in panic mode, looked at me and said, "It's all Sarah's fault. Every time she came over, she'd complain about how I had too much stuff. Fans or my girlfriend, of course I picked my girlfriend. That's why I threw the gifts away." Jane frowned, her frustration evident as she slammed the table. "Enough. For now, we'll have to bench you. But don't worry, with Sarah here, the company won't give up on you." Bryce opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. "Let's not make any sudden moves. Let's see where the public opinion goes first." By evening, the situation had only gotten worse. The hashtag #BryceGetOutOfHollywood was trending at #1. In a last-ditch effort, Bryce went live to play the victim. With over 100,000 viewers watching, he cried on camera, claiming to be a kind-hearted person who'd always donated to charity. "Why are people trying to ruin me?" he sobbed. "I've always tried to do good in the world." But instead of sympathy, the internet exploded with memes mocking him. His crying face was turned into reaction GIFs and stickers, flooding social media. During the livestream, he got a call. It was about a young girl with leukemia who'd been a viral story on social media. The company had sent several celebrities to the hospital to see if they were a bone marrow match. Only Bryce had been a match. He'd initially agreed to donate, hoping to use it as a PR move to regain his popularity. But behind the scenes, he'd been dodging the family's calls for weeks, refusing to follow through. The family had finally gone public, and the backlash was building. Just as Bryce was spiraling, Ivy showed up unannounced with a new scheme in hand. She walked straight up to him, leaning close to whisper in his ear, her breath warm against his skin. "Bryce, sweetie, let's jump ship together. Sarah's not going to help you anymore. You only have me now. Once I marry to Jack, we can both live the good life." Bryce let out a bitter laugh. "Jump ship? And what, Jack's gonna pay the millions in damages for breaking my contract? What's in it for him?" Ivy's lips curled into a sly smile. "All you have to do is help me steal the final cut of Run. If the first episode can't air, Jack's promised to fix everything for you, the bad press, the lawsuits, all of it." Before he could refuse, Ivy's tone turned icy. "But if you don't help me, I might just have to blow this whole thing up. I'll go to the media and tell them everything about us. Once that happens, you'll really be finished." Bryce cursed under his breath, kicking the couch in frustration. Ivy laughed, clearly delighted at his anger. "Tomorrow, when you visit Sarah on set, just sneak me into the network studio. I'll handle the rest." Too agitated to argue further, Bryce agreed. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth. "Hide in my trunk tomorrow. Once we get to the parking lot, you can sneak out. No one will be able to trace it back to me." Ivy's smile widened, satisfied with his compliance. Chapter 7. The next afternoon, Bryce successfully smuggled Ivy into the network studio and found the editing room. The final cut was stored on a tiny chip. Ivy took the entire envelope. She hadn't left the editing room when the alarm went off. The staff who had been working on their computers all looked up at Ivy. She didn't get far before being apprehended. Bryce and I arrived together. I must say, Bryce's acting was natural. I saw no shock or guilt on his face. He was calm. Ivy accused him of bringing her in, but Bryce vehemently denied it. "You're talking nonsense. I barely know you. Why would I bring you in?" He was ready to cut ties. Ivy's smile turned maniacal. "I have plenty of photos of us on my phone, Bryce. If I go down, you're coming with me." She pulled out her phone, but as she opened her unread messages, she changed completely. Ivy's face turned pale, her hands trembling as she deleted the entire conversation. She glared at Bryce. "This was your plan all along. You're not human, Bryce." Her resistance was futile as security pinned her down. "Someone from the editing room sent me a photo from Ivy's phone. It was an explicit image clearly showing her face. Bryce had taken it to blackmail her. He had planned for her to get caught and sent the photo to silence her." At that moment, Bryce held my hand. "Sarah, your hand is so cold. Are you sick? I'll take you to the hospital tomorrow." I pulled my hand away, feeling nauseous. "No need. It's just the air conditioning." In his eyes, I no longer saw sincerity and warmth, only lies and schemes. This man cared only for himself. Chapter 8. Ivy was detained awaiting trial. She thought Jack would save her, but he never showed up. News of Bryce agreeing to donate bone marrow to the leukemia girl spread everywhere. Public opinion slightly improved. But the girl's mother in an interview said she couldn't reach Bryce and asked the media for help. Negative comments flooded Bryce again. They called him a hypocrite, pretending to be kind. Late at night, I received a call from Jane. Bryce had attempted suicide. He posted a long message on Twitter, saying he wanted to save the girl but was also sick. Why was everyone forcing him? Why was everyone trying to control him? He had no choice but to die. As soon as the tweet was posted, someone knocked on Bryce's door and saved him. The timing was too perfect. It felt like a staged drama. But netizens were moved, turning their anger towards the leukemia girl and her mother. They accused them of morally blackmailing Bryce. Bryce owed them nothing. He was also a human being. Some even cursed the girl, wishing her death. The girl's fundraising link was attacked by Bryce's fans, causing a 400 for error. Her mother aged overnight. I rushed to the hospital. The girl's mother thought I was with Bryce, grabbing me and crying, cursing. I didn't resist. Bryce was worse than I imagined. If I hadn't pushed him to the edge, this poor mother and daughter wouldn't have suffered such attacks. I took out a check for $50,000. "I'm sorry. I'll help with the bone marrow issue." The girl's mother broke down. She didn't want money, she wanted her daughter's chance to live. The check felt meaningless. For the first time, I realized money couldn't solve everything. My bone marrow should match your daughter's. A familiar voice spoke. Jack held a report, walking over. The girl's mother couldn't believe it, her hands trembling as she held the report. The next moment, she knelt and bowed to Jack. Please, please, you must save my daughter. Jack agreed to help. He also brought news that Bryce was teaming up with a fan club leader to clear his name. Chapter 9. During Bryce's hospital stay, his Southern fan club leader visited him daily, more often than I did. After Jack told me, I planned to visit Bryce. Before entering, I heard Bryce's gentle voice. Lily, isn't your dad a shareholder of Twitter? Ask him to remove the trending topics. I don't want to hurt anyone. Lily, said I'd fight anyone who hurts you. This time, it's clearly that mother and daughter pressuring you. I won't let them win. Before I could enter, Bryce hugged Lily. Thank you, Lily. Now only you are helping me. Sarah doesn't care about me. Lily showed him evidence. She doesn't just not care. She and Jack are behind this. Bryce opened the envelope, finding photos of me and Jack at the hospital. Why would she target me? Bryce panicked. He realized Ivy was telling the truth. I had discovered his affair. She must be jealous. Your scandal with Ivy is so intense. She wants to destroy you to control you. Bryce grabbed Lily. Lily, will you help me? Lily sighed. She was just a fan club leader without much power. If she had, she would have kicked me out of the entertainment industry long ago. Bryce frowned, anger simmering in his eyes. He wanted to destroy me. Lily suddenly had an idea. Isn't Sarah's birthday coming up? If you agree to appear on her birthday live stream, the traffic will explode. She wants to ruin me, and I should help her gain traffic? Lily coaxed softly. On her birthday, announce your breakup, accusing her of cheating. Don't you think that would be a slap in her face? Blame your depression and the gift scandal on her. You can completely clear your name. Lily's words sank in, and Bryce's eyes brightened. He saw this as his chance to turn things around. Chapter 10. For my birthday, I invited artists from Deck Entertainment and Jane. We planned a live broadcast for the birthday celebration. Bryce brought Lily along. He wore gold-rimmed glasses, looking refined and handsome. His fans adored his looks and acting skills. If he hadn't harbored ill intentions, he could have thrived in the industry for a long time. In the past few days, he had obtained a depression diagnosis from a psychiatrist. He also bribed major marketing accounts, planning to expose my affair on my birthday. He announced on Twitter that he would attend my birthday and wished me a happy birthday. Everyone thought he loved me deeply, celebrating my birthday despite his illness. But I knew better. The more affectionate he appeared, the more ungrateful I would seem once my affair was exposed. Chapter 11. The entire birthday livestream lasted over an hour, with everyone harboring their own agendas. Bryce waited for the final moment. The cake was brought out, and he asked me to make a wish. But as I blew out the candles, he had the lights turned on. My gaze turned cold. He wouldn't even let me celebrate my birthday. The comments were flying so fast they were unreadable. The number of viewers doubled, everyone curious about the sudden change. Bryce held photos of me and Jack in compromising positions, speaking righteously. Sarah, I can't believe it. Everyone thought you and Jack were enemies, but it was just a smokescreen. You were together behind my back. He scattered the photos, which fell like snowflakes. Say something. Are you speechless? Jane handed me a remote control, and everyone stepped aside as the staff brought out a white screen. Bryce looked at them. What are you doing? Sarah cheated, why aren't you reacting? At that moment, the lights dimmed completely. The screen displayed the video from that day, clearly showing their affair despite the blurred faces. Turn it off. Turn it off. Bryce panicked, rushing to stop the video. But this was just the beginning. I switched to the next piece of evidence. The girl's mother had visited Bryce, begging him to save her daughter. But Bryce had told her he was just acting and wouldn't save her daughter. He called her and her daughter vile names, saying they should die and not drag him down. Everyone present looked at Bryce with eyes full of hatred. Bryce was drenched in cold sweat, barely able to stand. He seemed to realize he was finished. But it wasn't over. The final video was the most damning. Ivy visiting Bryce. In this video, Bryce not only admitted to receiving fan gifts but also left evidence of his affair. Lily stood beside me. "Sorry, I'm done being your fan. Someone as heartless as you doesn't deserve to be an idol." I was disappointed. "Bryce, fate gave you a way out. Only your bone marrow matches the little girl. If you had cooperated and helped her, you wouldn't be in this situation." If he had chosen to donate the bone marrow, I had considered sparing him, but he chose the wrong path. Bryce's eyes reddened. "I only cheated. Did you have to ruin me? You played me for so long. Isn't that enough?" I laughed coldly. "Bryce, if you hadn't forgotten to turn off the video that day, I would still be your tool, unaware of your deceit." His pupils dilated. "That day, you knew all along. So Ivy was right, you wanted to destroy me?" Before I could respond, Bryce broke free from security, grabbing a fruit knife and lunging at me. "I'll kill you." The expected pain didn't come. I fell into a warm embrace, smelling a faint scent of blood. "Cousin!" Lily screamed. Jack held the fruit knife, blood dripping from his wound. Bryce was subdued and taken to the police station. As he left, he kept cursing and laughing maniacally. "You all played me. You'll all die horribly." Chapter 12. After that live stream, Lily shut down Bryce's national fan club, turning against him. Bryce's reputation was ruined. The company and brand partners prepared to sue him for damages amounting to tens of millions. Ivy was imprisoned for theft and was treated harshly by the inmates. As for Jack, he was never my enemy, just a media fabrication. He was my childhood friend. We had never acted together because I would get distracted working with him. When he learned about Bryce's affair with Ivy, he insisted on helping me teach Bryce a lesson. His cousin Lily was part of the plan to lure Bryce into the trap. I only found out about this at the last moment. When Jack's hand injury was being stitched, I accompanied him. The doctor said if the knife had been an inch deeper, his hand would have been crippled. With his almost crippled hand, he held my fingers, his dark eyes serious. "Sarah, I don't want to be just your childhood friend anymore. Can you give me a chance?" I was stunned for a moment. I never dared to confess because I wasn't confident you'd like me. I didn't want to ruin our friendship, but I can't stand it. Sarah, I can't stand the thought of you with another man. In his self-deprecating smile, I squeezed his hand tightly. He looked at me in surprise. "I've been thinking these past few days, why was I so scared when you got hurt, scared that I might never see you again? Just thinking about it made my heart feel empty. I wondered if we were too familiar, making me mistake this bond and concern for friendship. But it's not. It's me falling for you." I smiled. So did Jack. He said he had been waiting for me to turn around, and luckily, I didn't make him wait too long. I felt fortunate too. Thank goodness he had always been there. Thank goodness he never left.